Corona na hoile, kandiya kandiya, prana na rakibo. Ude kita bindu dia karo edase, sunapeka oti. Ude kita bindu dia karo edase, sunapeka oti. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotar Sada Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotar Sada Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotar Sada Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa-puja celebration Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotar Sada Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Goshyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navarit Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarne. Put this away. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Shreshtam Anumapi Shachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Uruparim Maturim Goshtavartim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Guru Shriataf Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tine Smarane Hoy Bigna Vinashan Anayashe Hoy Nijavan Chita Puran. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are all gathered here to glorify His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the great empowered emissary of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, who appeared in this world in the Gregorian calendar year 1896, on the day following Janmashtami, the appearance anniversary of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yesterday in the talks I discussed, why does Krishna appear in this world? Why does Krishna come? Some reasons given are that if he doesn't come, who will ever believe that the Supreme is a person? What to speak of his pastimes? He comes to show them. He comes to show mercy to their devotees. The unborn takes birth so that we have the opportunity to stop taking birth. That is His mercy. He loves us. Krishna loves you. So you may say then, well, why do the devotees appear in this world? Krishna comes, that's enough, isn't it? Krishna is all powerful and do anything, whatever he likes, at any time, in any place. Krishna's devotees, as we read yesterday in the purport to the Gita verse, Paritranaya Sadhunam, devotees come for the same purpose. Srila Prabhupada came because he loves us. He took birth. He doesn't need to take birth. He lives with Krishna in the spiritual world, but he took birth so that we don't have to take birth, to give us the opportunity to go beyond birth and death. Krishna comes, he exhibits his pastimes, he speaks Bhagavad Gita. He speaks Bhagavad Gita, why? He gave the Vedas at the beginning of the creation, he gave to Brahma. The reason is that Evang parampara praptam imam raja shayo viduhu sakalene hamhata yoga nashta parantapa. In course of time, the teachings become spoiled or lost. So Krishna comes to speak them in the spiritual circles, in the Vedic culture, whatever's going on in the name of Vedic culture at the present time, the Bhagavad Gita is still respected as authoritative. If we quote Bhagavad Gita, at least among people who identify as Hindus, that bears weight more than what others say. Shankara, very influential, Shankaracharya. But if we quote from Shankara, it doesn't have the same weight as quoting Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's words are the most authoritative. Of course, Shankara himself commented on Bhagavad Gita. So many have commented on Bhagavad Gita. It's accepted as the prime spiritual teaching. Even people quote from Upanishads and this and that, but still Gita is the mostly accepted. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's instructions, because Krishna spoke, it's most authoritative. Then why does someone else have to come? Gita is already there. Well, if even such a powerful person as Shankara, although widely respected, although nowadays in India hardly anyone even knows his name, unfortunately. It'd be better if they did know his name, and then they knew the names of the acharyas who developed, rebutted the misconceptions he propagated, and developed his teachings. Why do others have to come? Well, because in course of time the teachings become lost. They become distorted, misinterpreted, misunderstood. Krishna's words, Srila Prabhupada gives Bhagavad Gita as it is. So Srila Prabhupada, it seems very clear and obvious what Krishna is speaking. He's establishing himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pretty much all commentators, including the Mayavadis, they accept, and the mundane scholars who don't have faith in Gita in the same way that a follower of the Vedic culture has, but they all say it's a theistic work. They recognize that it's a theistic work. But it gets misunderstood and misinterpreted. Some people are envious of Krishna. They're attracted to Krishna. They're still attracted, otherwise why would they comment on Gita? Because they're attracted to Krishna and Krishna's teachings. But there are different kinds of attraction. Just like Kamsa was attracted to Krishna, he couldn't stop thinking of Krishna, but in an unfavorable way. So there are many people who comment on Gita and give all kinds of different, what they think to be the right understanding. So devotees of Krishna come to set the record straight. Just as Krishna comes and speaks Bhagavad Gita from time to time, once in every day of Brahma he comes and speaks, and his devotees come also to give the right understanding when it's distorted, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So Srila Prabhupada came. Why did he come? There are many reasons that can be given. Why did he come? Why did he leave the spiritual world? Actually, there's an anecdote which Bhavananda, he told that Srila Prabhupada had told him that I was in the spiritual world with Krishna. I was with Krishna, and Krishna wanted me to come to this world. And Srila Prabhupada said, I didn't want to go. What do I want to go there for? And Krishna told him that you don't worry, I'll make all arrangement for you. You just go and write those books. That's all. You go and give those books. So Srila Prabhupada came because he loves us, out of his compassion for us, he feels for us. Krishna loves you individually, personally. Srila Prabhupada loves you individually, personally. It's a point which is stressed again and again in our educational programs within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, that everyone who comes to this movement should recognize and develop that we all have personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada comes because he loves us, to save us from birth and death, to link us with Krishna. Krishna is in the heart of Srila Prabhupada. Sadhavo hridayang mahyam, sadhunang hridayang tvaham. Krishna is in the heart of everyone, but he's manifest in the heart. One time a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, is the Lord in the heart standing or sitting? And Srila Prabhupada closed his eyes briefly as if to look and said, he's sitting. What's he doing right now? Well, he might be standing in someone's heart, dancing in someone else's heart, and sitting in someone else's heart, and lying down in someone else's heart. That's the answer that Krishna gave, that Srila Prabhupada gave about Krishna. Not an ordinary person. Vaishnava jati buddhir, to think of a Vaishnava in terms of his birth is offensive. Gurushu naramatihi, to think of the Guru as an ordinary person is offensive. So what to speak of such a personality as Srila Prabhupada? When we say such a personality as Srila Prabhupada, well, of course he's unique. There's no one really like him. That's true of all of us. Everyone's an individual. That's a basic point of the teachings that we learned from Srila Prabhupada. We can try and classify people. That's very much part of the Vedic knowledge system. And modern knowledge systems also, they classify people. Ayurvedic types classify people according to Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and the different varieties. And then we can classify according to civilized and uncivilized. That means varnashram or non-varnashram. Classify according to male, female, and eunuch, mostly just male and female. We're just talking about humans here, not to speak of the other species of life. Then we classify according to people what modes of nature they are in, whether they're divine or demoniac. In the modern scientific systems, they also classify humans into various racial types, broad racial types, and then there are psychological divisions. People are considered different personality types according to psychological divisions. And in so many ways, they want to classify people, but everyone is unique. But still, as we read this morning from the purport, the opening words to Srila Prabhupada's purport, that classic purport to Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 11, Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavaha. The saint stands far above the ordinary person. Srila Prabhupada translates here, or first of all, he deals with the topic of the saint, because that is the subject of the verse, even though that's the last word of the verse, sadhavaha. It's just that the whole verse is describing the sadhavaha, which Srila Prabhupada translates in that context as purified men who are thoroughly honest. So Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport that the saint stands far above the ordinary man. ordinary men don't recognize. Who recognized Srila Prabhupada? He seemed like an ordinary man. Among the devotees, he was a businessman, family man. So many businessmen and family men. Not outstanding, quite a strong personality, no doubt. And among the devotees, he was respected. Among the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as much as Grihastas were respected, because among the renunciants, there was a term they had, Pacha Grihasta, rotten Grihastas. But he was known to be, he sang good kirtan, gave good talks. He was recognized by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati for his writing, but he wasn't considered anything extraordinary in the society of devotees. Later, his qualities were seen, how he was empowered by Krishna, and it became difficult for many of his godbrothers to even recognize what he'd done. It was unbelievable to them. They didn't think that it was possible that he could do what he did. No one thought it was possible. Even he himself expressed, well, let me try and see, but it's a difficult task, no doubt. If you want, make me dance. Srila Prabhupada wrote in his poem. But his godbrothers, they knew, oh, no, that's Abai Babu again. He always has all these big ideas. He was sitting in Jhansi, and Jhansi, some town. There are so many towns. It's not a very important place. And he had this league of devotees. He was making this magazine, had these plans for sending so many copies of Back to Godhead to so many different countries. He had all these schemes, and it all came to nothing. He was always talking big, but he wasn't able to do anything. And then he's talking about going to America. They thought it's an old man's fancy. You see, he could never get they thought it was some eccentricity of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, he's a nice devotee, but all these ideas going to the West. You see, Bon Maharaj, maybe the best preacher, or definitely one of the most lucid, inspirational preachers in the Gauriya Math. He had been sent to England with all support, money support, manpower support. He was able to do something, but ultimately it came to nothing. Then again he went to America, to New York. That's not so well known. Before Srila Prabhupada went, he again went to New York, but he was unable to do anything, and he came back. He was unable to make any inroads. So, and then this Bhaktivedanta Swami, he's going to go to America. He has all these plans, and practically he can't even go. He's a beggar. He doesn't have any money, doesn't have any institution, doesn't have any followers. And he'd probably die there. Better he'd stay in Vrindavan, be realistic. Fortunately for us, Srila Prabhupada wasn't realistic by mundane standards. He thought, let me try. He went, and even when he started, he was there. He was trying to get help from his godbrothers, send at least one man or two men to help. I can get money in India if you just make some arrangement for releasing the foreign, releasing money from India. Then we can build a temple. And they just say, they thought, yeah, it's a nice devotee, but it's a bit of an annoyance, maybe, they thought. He's writing all these letters. And then even when some people came to him, and he came back to India with disciples, and even then they didn't want to recognize, because his disciples, in the beginning especially, they didn't know the basic culture or etiquette, and they were chanting Hare Krishna, but do things like eating with their left hand. And one time, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, in the presence of one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, he had the Gopi Chandan ball, and he had to put water in his hand to make that, so he spat in his hand. And now you're laughing, but he didn't know. At the time he didn't know. There are so many things which seem absurd, and still so many things are going on, maybe not as gross as that. But just this morning, I saw one devotee, he was just putting the plate for the Guru Puja, and this was before the deity greeting, and he started doing Achaman. Why are you doing Achaman? Well, before the Guru Puja. Yeah, you're supposed to do it right before the Guru Puja, not before the Darshanarati. No, there may be so many discrepancies like that. People don't know. And I remember hearing, this was years ago, when they were talking about making this deity worship book, and some of the devotees living in India were discussing about, and one who was living in America said, no, you have to put every point in complete detail. He said, why? I mean, everyone do Achman. You have to say everything in complete detail. Otherwise, if there's some way that people can speculate and do it wrong, they will. And so many, unless practically you have to say, move your hand up 3 centimeters, move it to the left. Practically you have to spell it out in such detail, because people don't know. They don't have that cultural background. So Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they're a bit wild sometimes. This in Sri Rangam, who's now recognized as the head priest by the Society of Brahmins, although it's under the government now, so he doesn't officially have that title. That's Murali Bhatta. So he told me, when the 2 of Srila Prabhupada's sannyasi disciples came to stay with them, and it was practically a revolutionary mood that they allowed these 2 Western sannyasis to stay in their house. Others, they wouldn't even look at them or talk to them, and to bring them into you wouldn't even go to the house of a low caste person. You wouldn't even, if they wouldn't go anywhere near it. And here you have these mlechas, that's what people were thinking, coming and staying in their house. So it was actually the house, the ancestral home where Gopal Bhatta had grown up. So it was a great gesture to them, accepting them as real devotees, which many at the time were not ready to do, and still some are not ready to do. And you could understand in some ways, because the behavior of the devotees in many cases wasn't like devotees, or like sadhus, or even like sane, ordinary people. So Murali Bhatta told me they presented the 2 sannyasis with 2 apples, and in those days apples in India were quite costly, not very commonly got, and they were useless anyway. It was just like eating cardboard, but they were quite, especially in South India, because they grow them way up in the north. So he said, we gave them apples, and it's, we don't have that much money, and we gave an apple out of sign of great respect. So one of the sannyasis, of course, if you come from the West and you're used to apples and you eat the Indian apples, you wouldn't want to eat, like I say, it was like cardboard. It's like eating some cardboard, dry, and it tastes like you might expect cardboard to taste. So he wasn't very enthusiastic about the apples, so he took the core out, put a firework in it and exploded it. That was a sannyasi. I won't say his name. So this was the kind of thing that devotees were doing. So it did create a bad impression in some people's minds. And Prabhupada's godbrothers and some others, they said, well, these people, they're hippies and they're doing it's like a fad. You see, they're not sadhus. It's just some fashion for them. But Srila Prabhupada was very defensive of them. So yeah, the point I was making was that people didn't want to accept that Srila Prabhupada was doing something great, even when there was evidence that he brought people from the West. One anecdote I heard was that one Indian gentleman came to Srila Prabhupada and told him that two of your disciples, in those days disciples meant almost totally Western disciples in India. So two of your disciples, they're physically fighting with each other, and such things did happen. And Srila Prabhupada said, you're surprised they're fighting. I'm surprised they're chanting Hare Krishna. That they fight is expected. That they're chanting Hare Krishna, it's amazing. And of course many people were very appreciative also. But the point I'm getting around to making here is that Srila Prabhupada was extraordinary. Super extraordinary, in a class different from all of us, even among many great devotees. Who could do that? Srila Prabhupada also told the anecdote. He also told the anecdote of when Christopher Columbus came back to wherever he came back to, I think it was Portugal, having so-called discovered America. And he was, oh, great, wonderful, what a great thing he's done. And a new place we can go and ravage and pillage and exploit. And I don't know if they exactly said that. But other people who are envious of him said, yeah, well, anyone could have done that. You see, he just sailed and he kept on sailing, and eventually he came to some land. Okay, good luck. Nothing very special. So Christopher Columbus told them, okay, let's settle this matter. Here's one egg, chicken's egg. See if you can stand it up vertically. What are you talking about? No, just see. See, stand it up. Well, of course you can. Try and see. And they're trying, and of course, every time you try to stand an egg vertically, it falls over. He said, I'll show you how to do it. We can't do it, you can't do it. So he just took it and slightly tapped it at the bottom to make a base and stood it up. He said, anyone could have done that. Yeah, but now I did it, now you know. So sometimes people going, or devotees, sannyasis, Gauriya Math, whatever, going from India to the West, they think, oh, now I'm preaching in the West. See, I'm just as good. But if Prabhupada hadn't done it, who could have done it? Who would have even imagined it could be done? The very people who are criticizing that you can't make these Westerners into brahmanas and sannyasis, now they're doing the same thing. So Srila Prabhupada, we shouldn't underestimate him. At the present time, among the persons who identify themselves as followers of Srila Prabhupada, there is a systemic attempt to undermine much of what Srila Prabhupada said and did. I can't imagine what what Srila Prabhupada's response would be if he was here personally. He didn't like that. You may say, well, that's egoistic. But better we understand that Srila Prabhupada, although he presented himself very humbly, especially in the beginning, but he established the culture that you don't question, don't try to question that which should not be questioned. Now we may say that, okay, some things that Srila Prabhupada said don't seem to be right. How do we deal with that? How do you deal with it? Yeah, it may be a question. People may question us. But that has to be done always from the perspective that Srila Prabhupada is guided by Krishna. And if there's something that we can't understand about him, that is our lacking, not his lacking. Not that we have to come to correct him. We might not understand everything he said and did. It's unlikely that we will. But at the same time, to try to establish ourselves as better authorities than him is very dangerous. You may say, well, he made this mistake, that mistake. And you go around like that, then really your spiritual life is in a very great danger. I admit, I don't understand everything Srila Prabhupada said and did. Even this Chandrayaan, the Indian Space Research Organization, has sent something or other to the moon. Chandrayaan, it means moon vehicle. How do we understand? Well, the devotees who are more deeply understanding or examining the Vedic cosmological, astronomical teachings, we're waiting for a statement. It may be difficult to understand some things, but at the same time we don't jump to the conclusion and say that Srila Prabhupada is wrong, Shastra is wrong. One thing we should understand, Srila Prabhupada is very, very powerful. And if we stick to the principle of following Srila Prabhupada, then we also become empowered. Blind faith is not good, that's true. Blind rejection is worse. If we think that it must be wrong, because it seems to us, all evidence seems to point against what Srila Prabhupada said. It becomes a very, very dangerous path. The basic understanding, basic principle is that faith in the Guru confers extraordinary power upon the disciple, and that's true in any field of Vedic understanding. Even we find, for instance, among the followers of Shankaracharya, there's an anecdote that they were up in North India. Of course, Shankara is from South India. So they were in North India. And Shankara was on one side of the Ganga and another was on the other. He called one of his disciples, "Come here, come here." So normally, if you have to cross the Ganga, you have to get a boat. But his Guru is calling, okay. So he went. He just walked. He walked over the Ganga, and everywhere where his foot should have got, then lotus flowers came up, and he walked over that. So he got the name Padmapada. He's famous as Padmapada, one of the original followers of Shankara. So those who follow, the gurus who follow the Vedic principles, they get power from doing so. And that's how Bali Maharaj was able to conquer the heavenly planets. He got power from his guru. His guru was not directly known as a devotee. He was on the karma path, although he's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Kavinam Ushana Kavihi, among the learned people I am Ushana, which is another name for Shukracharya. But he got, Bali Maharaj got great power to conquer the heavenly planets by following his guru. And the demigods were weak at that time because they had insulted their guru. They lost all strength. So strength, spiritual strength doesn't come from our own intelligence. Although intelligence, at the same time, we have to balance this. We don't want fanatical following. Religion without philosophy is sentimentalism or sometimes fanaticism. So we're not recommending stop all intelligence. But rather we should employ our intelligence to understand how our guru is right, not to show how he is wrong. If it seems that he may be wrong, then we should start off with the premise that it's more likely that we are wrong. What do we know? He's an empowered person. So Srila Prabhupada is a very powerful sadhu. And if we simply follow what he says, amazing things will happen. He gave some basic formulas, temple programs to be followed. They're very powerful programs if we follow. Rising early, chanting, reading his books, distributing his books, these programs I was speaking about in my Vyasa-puja, offering this morning. These two programs Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much. Distribution of his books and farm communities, establishing Varnashram. Srila Prabhupada said that the face of the world will change for these two programs. So sometimes we hear devotees say, well, we distributed so many books and didn't happen. So we have to do, let's try something else. Farms, we tried, didn't work. Gurukul didn't work. Didn't work. Well, whose fault is that? Is that our fault or Srila Prabhupada's fault? We should go on distributing these books. They're time bombs, they have their power, they bring people to Krishna consciousness. Anyone who takes a book, anyone who reads a little, their life is changed. We may not see that. But how is it that some people come to Krishna consciousness, like you have all come, and others don't? It means because they had a touch with Krishna consciousness previously. So by going out, doing public Harinam, by distributing books, by holding festivals, we're giving people a chance. They'll come forward. Some will come forward in this life. Some may come forward in another life. The movement should have been in better shape than it is in the Western world. We made many serious mistakes, but the mistakes are our misapplication of the formula that Prabhupada gave, not the formula. What Srila Prabhupada gave is powerful, and if we follow that, we ourselves get spiritual strength. We get realization. And people become attracted to that. Sometimes we have the idea that, well, we'll just be nice to everyone. There are thousands of New Agey people out there saying, be nice to everyone, or not even New Agey, and all kinds of... Just being nice is not going to change people's hearts. The message of Godhead. The people don't know. Lokasya janato vidvang chakre satvata sanghitam. The message of Krishna will bring people to Krishna. Simply being nice, people will see, oh yeah, nice, okay, good. Nothing very important. So it's not that we should be nasty, necessary, but we need to give people the message that Srila Prabhupada gave us. We may have so many plans, so many ideas for preaching Krishna consciousness, but we should know that Srila Prabhupada's plans are the best. We can apply those plans, times change, situations change. It's not that we should remain frozen in time. We have to adjust to various circumstances. We have to preach according to time, place, and circumstance. Just like if you want to preach Krishna consciousness in some countries of the world, you can't go out on public Harinam Sankirtan. You'll be arrested, deported, maybe imprisoned for many years. You might just vanish, never be seen again in this lifetime. Some countries are like that. One country to the northwest of India, if you go on public Harinam Sankirtan, it would be very risky to do that. Because the very reason for their existence is hatred of Vedic culture. That's the raison d'être, the reason for their existence. So we have to see according to time, place, and circumstance. Of course, in Croatia, you don't realize how lucky you are to have conditions in which you can go out and chant Hare Krishna publicly. You can distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. You can go everywhere dressed in the devotional dress that Srila Prabhupada liked, and people see and they think, oh, Krishna, they think of Krishna. And practically there are no legal or even social obstacles to us practicing and preaching Krishna consciousness very openly. So it's a great opportunity. The opportunity is still there. Many mistakes have been made, no doubt. The faith of devotees has been compromised, but still it's a great opportunity to implement Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And there's power in that. We try to do. Krishna will be pleased. Krishna is very pleased when he sees that devotees are doing what he wants. How do we know what Krishna wants us to do? Then we know what Srila Prabhupada, he told us what to do. Exactly how to do, that we have to see. Just like if the general guideline is there, farms, varnashram, but exactly what we have to do in any given circumstance is going to be different. You have to be very intelligent in doing so. You're going to have a farm, then for any enterprise, as Srila Prabhupada writes in the Gita purport, you need manpower, organization, money, manpower, land, organization, and money. So you need all of those things. Sometimes we see devotees, they get some huge piece of land. Okay, let's start a farm. But they don't have any devotees who are willing to come and join. So it's a nice idea, but it doesn't happen. So all the fact we have to see, and purchasing land, you have to see if there's so many factors. If the land is good, if the land is good, there's sufficient rainfall, no floods. The neighbors, we have to see also, because in some places the neighbors can be very inimical. There's so many things. In India, in many places, there's pig problems, wild pigs. They come and eat the crops. In your area, they're also, yeah. So many things you have to consider. The climate also, it's definitely going to be more difficult to establish farms in places where you need to collect wood for heating in the winter, and the growing season is much shorter than in tropical climates. So there's so many factors to consider. So it's not stereotyped. We have to use our intelligence, but we should have faith. There's tremendous potency in Srila Prabhupada's program. I'm pretty sure that if we'd had these farms, as Srila Prabhupada said, we said to do them then at that time, and if they'd been going on for 40 years, then Srila Prabhupada said millions will join our farms. Now if we had them, definitely, in America, in many places in Europe, so many people would come, because Srila Prabhupada was saying at that time this whole society is a disaster. And now to say that is not revolutionary, it's mainstream. Everyone's saying it. Even the big leaders of the world, they admit the whole society is a disaster. It's not simply a matter of making a little adjustment here or there. There's something seriously wrong in the whole society. So here we have an alternative way of living, tested. 40 years it's going on. People are living on the land simply, happily, morally, with high principles. That would be big preaching, is it not? Now we're trying to adjust to all these new agey things, but this new age, it's a bunch of rubbish. It's useless, worse than useless. You're getting misled into that. It's neo-Mayavad fluff. Give people the real thing, which they need to hear. If we can't say it ourselves, give them Srila Prabhupada's books. Tell them, you're suffering, why? It's not because your mother didn't smile at you enough. It's because you are forgetting Krishna. That's the real cause of your problems. Feminists want to say, all the problems are caused by men. Or so many things, they have so many ideas. But the real problem is forgetfulness of Krishna. That we have to tell people. And show it, demonstrate it. If we could actually demonstrate it, would not people be willing to hear what we have to say? We have seems to be such a hard job to get people to listen to what we say. But we don't have anything practical to demonstrate. It remains theoretical. So that's a great challenge. Young people, where are the young people? The young people, come forward. Do it for Krishna. We're sitting here, a bunch of old people rotting away. Let the young people take it up. Lifetime ahead of you. Do this for Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. You'll get so much mercy. Otherwise, where is this movement going to in the Western world or anywhere? It's a critical time. For the followers of Srila Prabhupada, so many different opinions, devotees are divided on so many different issues. Everyone will claim allegiance to Srila Prabhupada. Well, of course, there are many Vaishnavas now in the Western world who don't claim allegiance to Srila Prabhupada very much. They may just say they're followers of others. They don't give that much importance to Srila Prabhupada at all. That's their mistake. Or they may give some lip service, but they're more following some others. But those of us who are following Srila Prabhupada, there are so many different opinions on the best way to follow Srila Prabhupada. There may be different ways to follow also. It's not stereotype, but there are some basic things which he gave. 4 regulated principles, chanting minimum 16 rounds. Let's first of all see what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do. Preaching to the mass, preaching to the class. There's a lot of work to do. Science, that is an important frontier of preaching. Srila Prabhupada enjoined his devotees who are trained as scientists to establish 2 things among the scientific community. One thing is that the chicken is a better scientist than you, because you say that life comes from matter, but you cannot produce life, but the chicken every day lays an egg and gives life. So the chicken is one thing, the chicken is a better scientist than you. Another thing, that they didn't go to the moon. So these were two things. But there's so many things to do. In the scientific field, devotees in the scientific field are trying to promote consciousness studies. It's a field which has come up, consciousness studies. It's there in mainstream science. Yeah, it's accepted, not that happily, because there are scientists who say, well, there's no, why are you studying consciousness? There's no such thing anyway. There's the psychologists. In the study of psychology, first they banished the soul. There's no soul. Then they banished consciousness, and psychology is supposed to be the study of the mind. And then they say there's no such thing as a mind either. It's all just, it's all just in the history of psychology. They first of all they decided there's no soul, then they decided there's no such thing as consciousness, and then they decided there's no such thing as mind. It's just reactions, neural triggers within the brain. But there is a field of consciousness studies, but it's a real Jotto-mot-toto-pot kind of field. There's so many people are saying so many different things because they can't work out what consciousness is, because they're sworn to the idea that consciousness is a product of matter. So it's very difficult trying to prove that 1 + 1 = 3. If the basic premise is wrong, then to prove it becomes very difficult. And there may be very many complex theories. Just like when I was at school, the teacher to us proved with complex algebra how 1 = 0. And we couldn't work it out. We looked through, went through, you put the whole equation on the board. But the one thing we hadn't worked out is that there's this thing in brackets. In brackets, x squared plus 3xy to the power of -2, and all this, and then there's a line, and then something else underneath it. That's all in one bracket. And then you multiply it by something else, which is in another bracket. But we didn't notice that within one bracket, everything came out to be 0. So that's like a nuclear bomb for all your equations. If you multiply by 0, it just makes everything into 0. So it may be that they're trying to explain consciousness in so many complex ways, but the very simple, straightforward thing, if we accept, there's a different kind of energy, spiritual energy, and that explains everything very easily. But they don't want to do that. So our devotees are getting into consciousness studies and reincarnation. That's a huge thing. We should preach, we should establish. Reincarnation is a fact. There's so much anecdotal evidence, and it's something, again, the elephant in the room that the scientists don't even want to think about or look at, because there's so much evidence. They don't even want to hear about it. And if you even bring it up, they say, no, well, it wasn't done properly, and the people, they heard something in there, they read some book in their childhood, and then they imagined it like that. But there's plenty of anecdotal evidence that reincarnation is a fact. When someone can, under hypnotism, speak in a provincial dialect of French, for instance, that died out some centuries ago, and they can give all the details of something that happened, which you can't find out that it happened unless you do deep research, and there are dozens and hundreds of cases like that. Then it points that reincarnation is a fact, which is, again, it's a nuclear bomb for the whole of Western philosophy and the pride of Western civilization. It's all based on a major mistake, basic existential mistake. So there is work to do. There's plenty of work to do. You get in the science field, reincarnation field, establishing farms, distribute books, write more books. New books can be written for preaching also. study this philosophy, counter all the wrong ideas. There's so many wrong ideas in so many ways. There's a lot of work to do in Srila Prabhupada's service. So celebrating Srila Prabhupada's appearance day is not simply for some eulogization. As Srila Prabhupada wrote in one of his Vyasa-puja offerings, that it's not simply meant for an offering of flowers and incense, and then you have a feast. But it should be when we're thinking how we can take forward the mission. Srila Prabhupada had a mission to bring Krishna consciousness to every jiva in the universe. So there's plenty of work to do. Unlimited numbers of jivas, lots of work to do. So we should all participate in this to our capacity, what we can do. People have different capacities. Of course, Krishna can empower anyone. Unexpectedly, they may come forward. One of my disciples just sent something that someone had written about me. That was Jananivas Prabhu said he just in his Vyasa-puja offering, I think it was a spoken offering, some part had been transcribed, that he said, I've been traveling around the world with the TOVP team fundraising. I met him recently. Jananivas Prabhu, do you all know who that is? He's a Pujari in Mayapur. He's been there for more than 50 years. So he said, I've recently been traveling around the world. So yeah, I met him when he came to Atlanta. And he said that, he was saying how devotees can become empowered in your service. And he mentioned we used to see in Calcutta at Rainy Park, we had the BBT office there where Bhakti Swami was based there, and he was translating Srila Prabhupada's books. So he mentioned my name, my brahmachari name, and he said, well, the devotees, they were just hanging around in Rainy Park and distributing some books. Really? I didn't think I was just hanging around, but that was the impression he got. He said he did note that we were distributing books. But he said, now they're going in different parts of the world and doing so many things, so Prabhupada is empowering devotees. So what was the point I was making? Yeah, everyone can become empowered. I was a nothing brahmachari, and you could say by default I've hung in there, and now I have some position to speak to you, and you're kindly coming and listening, and because I guess I have some kind of position, some devotees listen to what I say, and something's happening, something is going on. But everyone can become empowered by Srila Prabhupada to do more than we might expect. There are so many examples. Savitri, I'm talking about the one from the Mahabharata here, not my godsister. You don't know her. So she was, well, you might say, just, some woman married to her husband. And now she is immortalized. Why? Why is she immortalized? What's the famous story? Savitri Satyavan. Her name is better known than that of her husband. Anyone know?
Yeah, she didn't allow the son to
Yeah.
die.
The son, her husband died, and Yamaraj said, I'm coming to take. Said, no, I'm not letting you. I won't let my husband die. He said, come on, Yamaraj said, come on. That's just the way the world goes. People die, and your husband's died. I'm Yamaraj, and I take souls away from the body. He said, no, I'm not letting you take him. She told Yamaraj. So Yamaraj said, okay, you're a devoted wife, so I'll wait until the sun rises, then I'll take him. So Savitri said, okay, the sun will not rise. By the power of her chastity and devotion to her husband, Yama had to concede, because if the sun doesn't rise, then the whole universe is in a big problem. So he had to surrender to her. So there she was an ordinary, what nowadays you'd call a Hindu housewife. But by her conviction, she was able to do that which is impossible. Yamaraj was saying, it's impossible, he died, it's over, it's finished. So by her conviction and purity, she was able to do that. So everyone can do something. Do more than you're doing. See what you can do. Another year coming up. We may not live even to see the sun rise tomorrow. But if we have time, let us see what we can do. Let us do something extraordinary. Extraordinary starts with doing the ordinary. Right? That means following the principles. Prabhupada emphasized this again and again and again. Rise early, chant your rounds, attend the aratis, study the books. Wonderful things come from these apparently ordinary activities. Srila Prabhupada's a very powerful sadhu. His words are very powerful. If we take them into our heart and live according to them, amazing things can happen. Let us rededicate ourselves on this most sacred day to the mission of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anything? Any comment, question? Yeah. Give the mic.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj. I have a question because Prabhupada was using everything at that time for preaching. I was just thinking, because they didn't have internet then. Would Prabhupada use internet preaching?
Would Prabhupada use the internet for preaching?
Yes.
Well, we can presume he would, yeah. But he wouldn't emphasize it over the distribution of his books. It's like I'm giving talks, and wherever I go I find devotees and sometimes even non-devotees tell me, I hear your lectures. But that doesn't mean that it's somehow become more important than Prabhupada's books. The telex machine that came, you don't even know what that is. You're smiling. Do you remember what that is? Telex machine. It had ticker tape, and you'd make some message, you'd type a message in one part of the world, and it would come out in ticker tape. On the other side of the world, it had to be decoded and this and that. We used to use telex. Srila Prabhupada said not to use it in the temples. He said they're already gossiping, and they'll gossip more by telex. So we can't always predict what Srila Prabhupada would say or do. He was enthusiastic about TV and radio and films to some extent. In the beginning in America, he was enthusiastic about TV programs, but after some time he didn't want, because he said they just ask stupid questions. Films, some devotees were very enthusiastic. We'll make if a film becomes very popular, it can really influence people. We'll make some movie about how someone becomes a devotee, and Prabhupada wasn't interested. He said, better use your energy for spreading Krishna consciousness. He did encourage Yadava Prabhu and Vishaka Prabhu. Others he didn't. So exactly what Prabhupada would say and do, it can be difficult to say, because Srila Prabhupada was unpredictable also. But the general principle is to use everything in Krishna's service. that requires some expertise also, to be able to do that in such a way that it has good effect. Anything else?
Thank you, Maharaj. I saw now that many population in internet is in Rajas mood. We must be.
You saw many people on the internet in Rajas mood.
Yeah, but we have to be careful.
Rajas and Tamas, in lower modes of nature.
Yes, I saw this.
Yeah, well, the very medium itself tends to drag the consciousness down. It seems like that. One devotee who was into astrology, he passed away now. He told me he had met some astrologer in Jaipur, traditional astrologer, who said that this, I think it was before the internet, the TV and all these things, that's the basic medium is under the auspices of Rahu and Ketu, which are demons who have bad influences in astrology. That's understood. So it can be used in Krishna's service, but the general tendency is to use it in a very bad way. A devotee told me recently that, so many devotees on the internet are saying so many things about me. I didn't know anything about it. Saying so many bad things. So they, in their own group, they think, it's a big thing and we're making a big, but I didn't even know anything about it. So in your own group you think, yeah, we're really making a big thing here. But yeah, it can be used. We find that whole witch hunts are made from the internet. Someone posts something on the internet, and all of a sudden, someone who's been preaching Krishna consciousness for so many years and much loved and respected by so many devotees, all of a sudden they become a demon, or they're considered like that. Yeah, you also wanted to say something? You can give her the mic.
Thank you, Maharaj, for coming and for lecture. I remember how Srila Swami was speaking, how for him is very encouraging to see how your disciples or his grandchildren are enthusiastic, and they even did not met Prabhupada. So for me it's also very encouraging to see how Prabhupada was melting hearts and how he was caring. So I would like, if you can please kindly share some stories with your association with Srila Prabhupada.
I have a book on this topic, because it used to be that so many people would ask me about my stories about my association with Prabhupada. So I wrote a book. Whatever little is there, it's in there. Okay, I'll tell one, because sometimes people think I'm too much into rules and regulations. So this is one anecdote where Vrindavan 1976, after Gaur Purnima, there used to be a Vrindavan festival. There's some traces of it still. So there's big initiation ceremony going on in Krishna Balaram temple. In the courtyard, Srila Prabhupada was sitting there. Akshayananda Swami was putting the ghee into the fire, swaha, all this. The whole courtyard was packed. I was sitting there for getting my Brahminical initiation. So it was going on with the mic, swaha, all these things, mantras. Prabhupada leaned into them and said, stop, in the middle of the yajna. And Srila Prabhupada pointed way to the back. And he said, there was a woman there with her baby. He said, the baby has his hand in his mouth. He's contaminating the whole proceedings. Take him out, wash his hand, and teach him not to put his hand in his mouth. Continue. So there you go, melting hearts, Prabhupada. melting hearts is part, but actually Shastra talks more about vidyate hridaya grantish, about piercing the heart. That's the Santa evasya chindanti manovya sangam uktibihi. The sadhus, this is Bhagavatam. The sadhus, they smash all the attachments within the heart. So that's the melting hearts is there, and there's also piercing the illusion. I've read many things which devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada write, and I see that mostly among his female disciples, they mention like this, how Prabhupada was very soft and kind. It seems he dealt with them like that more. And with his male disciples, soft and kind sometimes, but hard as a thunderbolt can be also. Well, is hard as a thunderbolt, soft as a flower. But I'm a little skeptical about overemphasis on the melting hearts thing, because it can descend into sentimentalism. It's a very heavy teaching. We becoming purified from all the dirty things in the heart. So definitely Srila Prabhupada melted hearts, but he also told us to rise early in the morning, chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles. The symptom of a melted heart is that you do these things. Otherwise, melting hearts is going on all the time. That's the material world. The boy looks at a girl, the girl looks at the boy, their hearts melt, and ghee, what is it, butter and fire. It's going on all the time. So, religion without philosophy is sentimentalism, or sometimes fanaticism. Anything else? Hare Krishna. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. You can call that. I can take this.
Hare Krishna, dragi Bhakte i gosti. Prije nego što najavimo sljedeći dio programa, molimo vas malo trenutak vaše pažnje. Osobni sluga Bhakti Vikasa Swamija, Hrishikesh Prabhu, ide na put, na autobusni kolodvor. Tražimo... najbolje da Mrigendra Prabhu postavi ovaj upit. Kad mi treba ići? Kad mi treba se? Tražimo nekoga tko bi odavdje krenuo u 8:40 i mogao Hrishikesh Prabhua odvesti na autobusni kolodvor. Imamo li nekoga tko bi to mogao učiniti? Može mi se slobodno javiti ako se pojavi takav. Sada ćemo imati Prabhupada arati i kirtan. Također ćemo ponuditi svijeće, latice Srila Prabhupadu. Hare Krishna. Renault Kangoo i srebrni Volvo, ako bi mogli osloboditi prolaz za Bhakti koji idu ranije. Odi pravo ovo se odnesi tamo na lijevu stranu. Evo pravo, možeš se pripremiti.
Ja se trebam pripremiti.
Da.
Šta ja govorim?
Pitat ću šta se pjeva, da u Gurvaštaka ili...
Guruvandana, ja mislim.
Guruvandana, evo?
Da, pitaj ga.
Hoćeš kirtan?
Ajde. Moram.
Kad ideš ti danas?
Sad poslije ovoga. Poslije kirtana. Hare Krishna.
Small question, sorry.
Dobro.
Vandana?
A, raste, da.
Yes,
Gdje je, by the way? Pa da ga žena uzela. Nisam vidio ni nju ni njega. Čuli se sa sobom, ono.
Guru Vandana.
Šri Guru.
Kirtan, nemoj samo previše odužiti. Jer
Neću već, da, 2 minute do fista.
Odi slobodno.
Kako ste, majko? Evo ga. Evo.
Možeš 2 staviti do stopala i onda 3 onako pokazati baktama i onda ćemo što.
Ja pjevam kirtan. Stigli idemo. Čekaj da završim. Da otpijemo, može. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala